think, I wonder if some of the earliest civilizations or ancient cultures around the world, that the people who were perceived as like clairvoyant or had great foreshadow, or the ability to make great predictions, or people who were the local oracles, whatever type of spiritual practitioner they might have been within their community or their tribe, were some of our earliest autistic ancestors.
So I sit at the interesting intersection of someone who is neurodivergent and someone who has extrasensory capacities. And I've started speaking about having extrasensory capacities and being neurodivergent in scientific terms, because times will come to where we are able to better understand what we're seeing in our environment. So I've started teaching on my channel that reality is more expansive than people realize. Because if you don't have neurodivergence, a lot of people they miss a lot of data. And so for people like myself, it we see more different than we are. But I think I'll keep this video short and I'll say this. My content is based around helping people to survive their present. I deal with a myriad of topics, but what I try to teach people is a method of what I do. And so my neurodivergence helps me to come up with probabilities, things that 20 based on the pattern, I could tell you it's probable that something will happen. Okay. On top of that, I will give you a prediction, which will be based on neurodivergence and data, which is you've seen the pattern. Now I've gone into the world and I've not just noticed a set of facts that I'm looking at a pattern here. I will look at other patterns and compare those things. And then you can come up with a prediction, which gives you 50 and up percent of something happen. Okay. And then there's that bit on top of that to where I know that something's going to happen. My capacity to make those predictions, it does not just come from a pattern. It comes from an apprehension of reality that exists beyond pattern recognition. And so I want to save people some time here because and I say go on the journey of researching that, but I can tell you, depending on who you're working with and their set of skills, which allows them to perceive reality at a greater depth. So on my channel, I teach people that reality is more expansive than you think, because if you try to jump way into the deep too far, it's too much. It's just way too much. It's like empaths trying to explain what they're perceiving. Like me, I get a lot of data about a person. But it's caused me to, and the kind of data that I'll get, it just depends. Sometimes people need to know certain things. Sometimes I'll know that people will expire, but just a variety of data. And I explain it to people that it's a lot like being Iron Man, and it takes a lot of concentration to be able to pull into most people's the average person's ability to understand and perceive. It takes a great deal of patience to try to explain those kinds of things to people, because what I try to tell people is that the way that we have chronicled, explored, explained, and tested extrasensory capacities, you've got your pattern recognition, and then you've got your intuitives, all the stuff. You can explore that here on TikTok. And what I try to tell people is that we've used an incorrect vocabulary to explore and explain those things, and people jump right into religion, mysticism, hoodoo we like. And I'm not talking about hoodoo. I'm talking about there's this phrase that people use. I can't remember it right now, but we're using the wrong vocabulary. And so as an intuitive, I can tell you that times are coming in which we're going to have children who are that next, they're just next on the evolutionary progress chart. And we're going to have to stop using religion, magical thinking, mysticism, or whatever to explain things that will be very much so real, just basic to these people. And so it's part of one of the things that I'm working on to try to prepare materials for people. And the first step in that I've been implementing on my channel for years now is people need to understand how important critical thinking is. Because even if you're just basic neurodivergent and you have pattern recognition, you still have to have critical thinking in order to be able to test what you perceived. And it's why on my channel, I teach like a basic way of dealing with that, which is you have a probability from your pattern recognition. You have a projection, I guess, a projection, which would be, I'll use pattern recognition in addition to data. Like I can project based on what we know and you don't need any other skills. And then I go above that and tell you, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going on. You're unable to access that level of data. And that's all it is. If people would understand it like being a person who likes research, except you're able to reach onto, see the bookshelves behind me. I'm able to reach all the way up there. This is just an example, all the way up there to that old book up there. Okay. And I can access that data up there. The average person is reaching stuff down where you see that frames behind me and the painting behind me. They're only able to go that far. Some of us are so tall, just as an example, we can reach all the way up there, and that's it. That's it. That's all it is. It's not weird, mystical. It's very much so scientific. And so what people are not realizing is that we're literally watching evolution occur, but it's happening so slow with so many details and so many things going on in our environment that people aren't perceiving that like this is just normal. Like it should be, and I don't want to make this video too long. What we're able to do was, what's an easier way to understand it? It just should be normal. Humans weren't meant to be as blind as we are, okay? And so, not to seem weird, but we are being evolved, but our evolution is taking us back to a more of an original design. That's not going to make sense. It's not going to make sense. But I found other people who also got the data on that. We had to reach up here and we had to realize that in order for humanity to survive, and I've talked about this on my channel, what humans have this weird misperception that we moved from a rock to a bullet, and that was our trajectory. And what they don't realize is that humans have had this crazy up, down, up, down, up, down. They've gone through cullings. Okay, that's a subject I need to talk about. Destruction, and then they've had to build back up. So some people are aware of that, right? But many don't understand that we had a position in the beginning, a sort of makeup that we lost. We lost it. So now we're being dialed back up slowly to our potential. And it's why I try to tell people, just keep it simple. Don't use magical thinking. Okay. Reality is more expansive than you think. And here on your planet and on planet Blue, a lot more is going on than you realize. So I think if we as human beings can embrace that, we would be able to solve a great deal more of the problems that we're presented with. Right now, people are going through a paralysis, just very much so a paralysis. What do we do? Who's the leader? How do we solve this? The truth is that human beings are a great deal more powerful than they realize. And I'll keep this video short. And so people must begin to realize their power. You were taught to externalize your power. Like, I got to believe in something else in order to find relief to my situation, instead of realizing, and you were taught to do that because then you could be controlled. But that's a whole other discussion. Anyway, go back and watch that video.